Welcome to Drive for Service, a podcast to inspire higher quality of service. Welcome everybody to the next episode of Drive for Service. My name is Melania Battison and I'm the head sommelier and wine buyer at Medlar Restaurant in Chelsea in London. And next to me, David O'Connor, the co-owner and restaurant manager at Medlar Chelsea.
Hello, everyone.
David, would you like to introduce our next guest?
Yeah, we're delighted to welcome Diego Masciaga, who is widely considered as one of the best restaurant managers ever. Welcome, Diego.
Thank you very much.
Welcome,
indeed.
Diego.
Thank you. An honor to be here. Wonderful.
Excellent.
Benvenuto.
Can we start with your career story?
Well, my career story started a long time ago. As you can hear from my accent, I'm Italian. Obviously, I was born in a small village in the north of Italy called Oleggio. At the age of 14, obviously, I was not an academic. I realized straight away I was not an academic. So I wanted to do something then work. I wanted to go to work. There was no much choice in my village. It was either being a builder or working in a factory, Fiat, or working in a farm. So I said, well, I want to travel. I want to learn languages. So what did I do? I said, well, I would like to go into hospitality. So I went to school. I went to a catering school, a well-known catering school in Stresa, the Scuola Alberghiera, and that is where my career started. Why did I choose that? Because I realized straight away then, as I said, I wanted to travel, but also I wanted to learn not just languages, but also culture, different cultures, different people, meeting different people. So I went to school, fine. I was lucky enough I worked in Italy for 6 months. That's my only experience in Italy. Then I was lucky to go to France and learn French. My mom said to me at the beginning, Diego, you must learn French first, because English on the 70s, it was not an international language. It was the language of the Beatles and pop stars. So she said, you must learn French and then German and then English. So I went to France in La Baule, in a beautiful 5-star hotel. And I have to be honest, there is a little anecdote there. When I arrived in this beautiful hotel, you can imagine those big palaces in France. They said to me, Diego, you will be in charge of a very special service. And I said, oh, great. My French was not good or not that good. They said to me, you're going to be in charge of dog service and children's service. And that is what I did. And people say to me, dog service, yes, because in those beautiful palaces in France, even nowadays, they do accept pets, dogs. And this hotel had a menu for dog. So I was in charge of dog service. You can imagine at the beginning, I didn't even tell my mom and dad because what are you doing, Diego? Oh, I'm in charge of the dogs. That is not very nice. You go to a catering school to be in charge of dogs. But well, saying that, it was one of the most wonderful experiences that I had in my life. Why? I mean, I used to start, obviously I used to do breakfast in the morning, but then my service for pet was 5 o'clock in the afternoon, rice with French beans, rice with red meat, white meat, and so on. And I remember the first time that I went to arrive at the door, knock at the door. Sometimes we used to have maybe 12, 15 dogs in the hotel. The hotel was very big. It was a beautiful hotel. So the first time the dog would bark at me because, he didn't know me. But then after 2 or 3 times, the dog was my friend. But I have to say, I've learned so much out of that. It was not just feeding the dog. It was making the owner of the dog happy. Because for many people, and for all of us, dog is not just a pet. It's part of the family. So I've learned a lot. And it was service. So feeding a dog was making someone very happy. So that was my first experience in France. And then again, I continued in France and I was lucky enough to work for a very famous restaurateur, very famous chef, and sadly is not with us anymore. And it was Alain Chapelle. Alain Chapelle, Mionnay, La Mer Charles, and I was there in 1979, 1980. I was only 16, nearly 17. And again, when I arrived, Italian, strong Italian accent, even now with French. And I still remember Mr. Chapelle said to me, Diego, for the first 2 days, you're not going to go on the floor, and I'm going to teach you how to walk a floor. And again, I said, I know how to walk, but there is walking and walking. So it teach me how to walk in the dining room. It teach me how to read the dining room, look at the dining room, read the guest, walking with personality, walking with stamina. And that was my first 2 days there. And then obviously, fair enough, I worked in the restaurant. After that, well, as my mom said, I needed to learn a bit of German. So I went to, I still remember, a place called Augsburg in South Germany, near Munich, in a beautiful hotel. But I wasn't allowed to work in the restaurant. So I was the kitchen porter for a little while.
Because you were too young.
I was too young, unexperienced, didn't speak German, So I was a good kitchen porter. A good experience, because obviously every area of the hotel or restaurant is so important. And I tell you a bit what's happened to me, because learning to be a kitchen porter at a very young age teach me how important is that position in a hotel and in a restaurant. And in my later year, then when I became manager, general manager and so on, I still remember the first person that used to say hello in the morning, it was the kitchen porter. It was not my deputy. It was not my assistant. It was the kitchen porter. Because it's easier to find the deputy than a good kitchen porter. Anyway, that was my experience in Germany. And then here we come. I mean, it's time for learning a bit of English. So in 1983, I came to London, and I was lucky enough to work in a beautiful restaurant, which we all know, the Gavroche. Mm-hmm. And when I arrived there, well, I was just a commie as well, because I couldn't speak English. I met one of my greatest mentors, Silvano Geraldin. I said, oh, wow, it's great. The boss is Italian. It's going to be good. I'm Italian. I said, well, the boss was Italian, is Italian, but the boss was the same with everyone, Italian or not Italian. So, yes, indeed, I was working at Gavroche for 2 years. And then obviously I moved on in another restaurant called Mazarin, which was still part of the Roux Brothers empire. And then I went to the US. I was lucky enough to go to Santa Barbara in Southern California. And I was manager of a restaurant called the Waterside Inn, Michael's Waterside Inn. Nothing to do really with the Waterside Inn in Bray, where I ended up at the end. I mean, those were a great year. You can imagine I was in my mid-20s, no gray hair, I had a motorbike, Santa Barbara, here I come, it was just, was wonderful. And after that, I said, okay, I'm going back. I went back, funny enough, to Alain Chapelle. But I went back as a first Metro D restaurant manager. I was there for a year. And then, I joined then the Waterside Inn in Bray in 1988 with Michel Roux Senior. The rest is 30 years, obviously, at the Waterside. Wonderful time, wonderful experience. I could write 3 books about my experiences there. And then, I'm honest, in 2018, I decided to move on. Still be connected with hospitality, because this is my blood. But what I wanted to do is to bring my experiences that I've learned from all my past to a younger generation, and try to bring what I've learned and make them understand that it's a profession, it's not just a job, and so on and so on. So that's why nowadays it's my mission actually at the moment of making understand young people, and maybe even not too young people, then we are a profession. And I do that through businesses, I do that through university, through schools, and through charities. Yeah. And I'm enjoying. I love it every day. Yeah.
I think that's why you keep you like so young as well, because it's something that you love to do, and
I'm
this
excited.
is why you look
Every
like
day is a different day. Yeah.
I mean, today when you came in, you had such a good vibe. I was like, oh, it's energizing.
I know. I don't take it. I only drink a coffee in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think anything else.
It's amazing.
I think it has to be inside you.
Yeah, I can see that.
And one of my bigger mentors, funny enough, was my mom. We came from a very humble family, very humble background. None of my family were in hospitality. But serving or bringing a plate of pasta or a plate of caviar or a plate of lobster is exactly the same. The importance is to get pleasure yourself of pleasing someone else. And if you try to get that pleasure, whatever you bring, lobster, caviar, pasta, a sandwich, that is what we should do. Get pleasure yourself on pleasing someone else. Yeah.
I love that. And this is what I think it drives us to the next point, no?
Yeah, so the importance of service for you, Diego.
Well, for me, service. As I said, I mentioned a few times, service for me is paramount on the success of a business. We all know that guests, they go to a restaurant for the food, because at the end of the day, priority is the food. The food is so important, but what is also very important is who is around you. Who is around you, the choreography. Obviously, the choreography is many things. The lighting, the fragrances, the sounds, but people. We have to remember what the translation of hospitality is. And very often people forget. Pleasing people, making people feel special, making people feel important, make them feel like if they go to their friends or people come to your own house. So service, it is extremely important. It's not just the technique. The technique, you can learn technique in a book. You can learn technique nowadays on a screen. But what is so important is the attitude of the people that look after you, is the personality of the people who look after you, is a person that is happy to please you. I always say, and I know many, many people have said the same, you could go to a restaurant and have wonderful food, but the people around you, they don't make you feel comfortable. They don't do anything special for you. Would I go back to that restaurant? I'm not so sure. Mm-hmm. I go to a restaurant maybe when my steak maybe is a little bit overcooked, fine. But if the person that looks after me is capable of making me understand or turning that into an occasion, I will go back. I will go back because I will always remember that person. I work in places, without saying places, and people used to come, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? And I always say to my team, I'm so happy when people come through the door and ask you by name. Because I said, that's great. So that's why service is very important. And that's why I think it should be recognized as a profession, not just as a job. And it's also important, I'm talking about the financial of a restaurant, of a hotel. Because at the end of the day, the chef is there, the food is beautiful, but you need also people that sell that food, that knows how to sell that food, that knows how to sell the wine, they know how to sell the drink, they know how to upsell the food and the wine. Because at the end of the day, if there is not finances coming into the business, then the chef cannot afford to buy prime ingredients. Yeah. So really, that's why also the service is so important, because financially, you need someone there to obviously upsell, teaching how to sell,
bring the repeat business,
bring the people in. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you believe, Diego, that soft skills like attitude can be taught to someone?
Yes. I always, as I said, when I do recruiting, I very much recruit on attitude and personality. You cannot, if that person hasn't got the right attitude, can you teach that? Yes, you can, but only on leading by example.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot attitude, you cannot learn that on a book. There is no book. There is no screen for attitude. Attitude is talking to a person, talking person to that person, and be humble to yourself. Talk to the same language. I'm not talking about English or French, but talking the same age language, and then lead by example. Mentor them. It takes a bit longer, for sure. It's easier to learn on a book how to make a whiskey sour or how to carve a chicken. But when you have to teach attitude, it takes a bit longer, but you can achieve that. And that is what I do at the moment. You have to mentor people. You have to nurture people, because sometimes when they come, some young people, they come from a different world, and they don't understand. But if you really are there every day, detail, then you get to a point and they will understand. Yeah. And they want to be like you. And this is the main thing. I always said, in the chef world, there is a lot of people where when you're young, I want to be like that chef. Mm-hmm. I want to be like that chef. I want to be like that chef. But on the front of house, it's very different. We don't have many, very, very few. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so important for a young person to, when I started, he said, I want to be like that lady. I want to be like that gentleman because I want to succeed like them. So yeah, we can also teach attitude. It takes a bit longer. And also it's more a personal approach than a technical approach.
So are you saying there's not enough role models, you would say?
Not too many role models. Why? Because a lot of people, they're in hospitality, especially in restaurants, they reach a certain age and they move away from it for different reasons. Mm-hmm. So you reach a point and you got people in hospitality, but they are not really, you don't see them on the floor anymore. You don't see them around anymore. So people don't know them, don't know who they are. It's very, very few in the UK, but also I see also abroad. They reach an age, then they decide to move on the back office, on all those spreadsheets and all the numbers and everything. But where is the person on the front of house where a young person can say, I want to be like that lady. I want to be like that man. Yeah.
Yeah. And, but give us, so when you're saying like to be a role model and leading by example, does it mean spending time with them and train them? But can you give us some practical, like, I don't know, tips or like scenarios that manager, can implement, for example?
Well, first of all, obviously, depending the operation that you're running, for me, hospitality is not just a Michelin star. For me, hospitality starts to sell a sandwich. Mm-hmm. That is what hospitality is, or serving an espresso in a bar, or serving a caviar or lobster in a Michelin star restaurant. That is hospitality. For example, there is nothing worse for me than routine in a place. I think it's so important. When the staff knows, then there is not too many guests today. The last thing is another day, 5 for lunch, 10 for dinner. Here we go. They lose the sparkle. The sparkle is not there anymore. So it's to keep them very active. So I remember in some places I work, I used to come in the morning, it was very quiet, and I could see my staff a bit down. So I used to do training, interesting training, not boring training, interactive training. It's nothing worse than just speaking to people. Speaking for an hour, 45 minutes, it's not going to work. You have to do something that you make them feel interactive. So very often, I used to sit on the table and say, well, you serve me, you take my order. Or then I used to do it for them. Mm-hmm. training is so important, but not just training to tell them what to do, but also to teach them not just about that restaurant, but also other things. I mean, I used to work in French restaurant, and I used to teach people how to make spaghetti carbonara, which is an Italian restaurant. I used to teach them how to make zabaglione. So really that enlarged their experience. So they know they go to work somewhere else, they learn something about it. So, because if you work in an Italian restaurant, for example, and all you do, you do spaghetti, risotto, But then why don't teach them sometime how to make a crêpe Suzette, which is very French? Why don't you teach them how to make a banana flambé? Then it's very, very French, So you have to give them a bit more than what they think to learn. So, and then what you do is very important also, is to gain their trust, to gain the trust of your team and the respect of your team. Mm-hmm. And many people used to ask me, Diego, but wait a minute, but how do you gain respect from your team? And I'm honest, there is only one way to gain respect of your team, is to respect them first. There is no way out. I mean, there's nothing worse. And I remember, again, I'm going back to the kitchen porter, when I was kitchen porter. When I used to go to work, I never used to go in by the same entrance. I always used to go in by different areas. Why? Not to catch someone maybe there with a mobile phone or having a cigarette. No, not for that reason. But just to see, just in case a guest would go in from that entrance, what the guest would have noticed, And the first person that I used to go and see always was the kitchen porter. Shake his hand or her hand. How are you? Because I know that is a very difficult job. And then I used to move to housekeeping, to cleaning people, because I know it's not very easy. Housekeeping, no one ever think of housekeeping in a hotel. No one ever say thank you to housekeeping in a hotel. No guests and no bosses. They're always up there in those rooms cleaning all day long. And I used to leave my deputy at the last. But important was also to go around the premises, inspect the premises, not as a boss, but inspect the premises as a guest, what the guest would see. So I used to keep my team very active with the mind, even if they were tired, and that's it. So, and important is obviously to keep your team for a while, not to let them go, Yeah,
exactly.
And what do you do with your best team members who you feel that has perhaps they've learned everything from you and they're doing well? And
well, my motto was, and I write to them sometime. I got a lot of young people. No, they're not young anymore, young, but yes, I'm young. They're younger than me anyway. Some of them, and a lot of them, they've done, I would say, even better than me. And there is a say in Italy, my happiness is when the pupil beat the maestro. Mm-hmm. And that for me is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I mean, I do have people that work for me and they came very green, with no experience, with no background really. Now those young people, they're running huge operation, big hotel, luxurious hotel with wonderful position in the company. And I'm honest, I'm still very much in contact with them. And I'm very honest, they still call me or send me email to ask me for advice. And when I got someone on their 40s, then run a multinational or a huge, beautiful chain of hotels and still calling me, not for advice, skillful advice, but for personal advice, that is where I get pleasure. And I'm very lucky. Then I have a lot of people like that around. But why do I have those people around? Because also I helped them a lot when they were young. And I helped them on the beginning of their career. And we're all the same. We never forget where we started. We always go back to the past. So we cannot forget. So they don't forget that. So I got,
yeah.
Fantastic. And Diego, your thoughts on regulars and creating customer relations?
Well, regular and customer relation, I'm honest to you, is paramount on the success of a business. It is paramount. Why it is paramount? Because obviously a business needs regulars. I mean, I would say in some restaurants, some hotels, a regular would go every day. Some maybe every week.
Mm-hmm.
Some maybe every month. Or some maybe every 2-3 times a year. You cannot expect, depending the restaurant or the hotel you're running. Regular, for me, are your bread and butter. I mean, we all going through recession. We all going through wars. We all going through pandemic, name it. But without those regular, a business couldn't survive. And not just hospitality. All businesses. A car business, manufacture business, all business need regular. Also, regular, okay, you have the regular, but also you have to think then regular sometimes get old. And when they're a certain age, they cannot maybe afford to come back to you as often as before. But what is so important is to try to bring their children, their grandchildren into your business. So that really, you as a business, well, Mr. Brown is 70, he is retired, he lives in Spain, but his children, they still come to us. And then eventually the grandchildren will come to you. So that is why it's important. But also it's important to budget your business. Because if you have no regular, you never know how many guests you're going to do. If you got your regular, you always know then you're going to have your 10, 15 guests there. I reached points in places that I worked where actually the regular were more than the non-regular. We're talking about maybe 70, 75% of regular. And sometimes it was a nightmare. And I'm honest, because obviously, if you got too many regular, where do you put them?
Yeah.
But I never said no. I always said yes. But obviously, I have to tell them, look, I can do this, I can do this. And regular do understand. They will understand, and obviously. But I always tried not to disappoint a regular. Saying that, all guests in a dining room need to be treated exactly the same. Everyone should have the same size red carpet, because it's nothing worse if it's my first time in that restaurant and I go there and I see all the waiter at that table and no one looks after me, I will never go back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like sometimes I've been to places and maybe I didn't like the table. And I said, oh, can I move to the table? And the answer was not a very nice. No, sorry, the table is booked for 1 hour regular. And I used to say, well, I pay the same amount. I want the same treat, So there should be a different answer of that.
Yeah.
And so regular are extremely, extremely important. But you can only gain regular, not just with food. Regular is the service that has got a lot to do with regular, wanting people to come back, make them feel special, make them feel welcome, make them feel when they come with their guests, very important and very special. So that is the regular thing. Yeah.
But may I ask you something? So, for example, when you say, oh, I have a that service with 10 tables of regulars.
Yes.
And, you're just one, there is one Diego, there is one David, one Melania. How do we handle at the same time? Because, of course, when you have a regular, perhaps they expect a bit of your attention.
Yeah.
So you cannot divide yourself in different tables. So how do you deal with the situation?
Well, you see, if you have, for example, it happened to me. We got some regular, then always sit at that table, only at that table. And on that night, I got 3 regular, then that is their table. I said, oh, wow, what am I doing? You know what I do? I give that table to none of them. So none of them, because if I give it to one and the other, they're not happy. So it is. So what? I'm very honest to them, I said, look, tonight, I cannot do the table because we cannot do it. We always find an excuse to it, or maybe. You can sometimes blame someone, got the wrong table there, but if you give it to that one, always that one, then is always expected. So you have to understand, and at the end of the day, you're running a business. You're not running a private house. You're running a business. And dealing with all of them, well, when you have to, I used to do something. I used to give 1 minute or 2 minutes per table. And if the guest used to talk to me a bit too long, my team knew how to deal with it. So they used to come to me without asking me anything, without talking to me, with a small piece of paper inside the folder. And on the piece of paper, there was something written, And I used to say, I need to call. I got an emergency call. So I used to move out, I was the way. So without the waiter coming to me and say to me, Mr. Diego, table 5 wants to see you. Mr. Diego, there is a telephone call for you. So in the middle of a conversation, it's very difficult to stop a conversation. But that, say, sorry, I'll come back to you. So in a way, you free yourself without the guest feeling then it's not heard. But you have to speak to people. You have to listen to people. Listen is one of the so important to listen to a guest. Because if you don't listen, for example, answering the question before they finish the question, like for example, I'm in an Italian restaurant and a guest would ask me, can I please have a crepe Suzette? I know already that there is no crepe Suzette. We're an Italian restaurant. Or can I have a foie gras? No. If you say no, even before they finish, no, but what you can say always, let me go and see. I'm not so sure. So at least you give them a chance. And then obviously you go back. Okay, you go to the chef. The chef will tell you off because that you don't have foie gras, you don't have that. But at least you give that guest a chance and you allow them to ask the question. Never, ever stop their question and listen, because sometimes if you don't listen properly, you can give them the wrong answer. And also you can make them feel, we are human beings. We understand when someone is listening to us or is not. We're human beings. Yeah.
I see. No, that's interesting. Something that you'd like to ask?
The role of the sommelier in wine service in a restaurant.
Well, the role of a sommelier, obviously, is so important. I've been lucky to work in places where we had sommelier, chef sommelier, assistant sommelier, and obviously, join you. It's a very, because sommelier you need is not just enough personality or attitude. You also need skills. Sommelier is a skillful profession. Why? Because wine is alive. Wine is not like a brandy that is in the bottle and is there forever. Wine is alive. Wine changes every 6 months, every 8 months. So that's why a sommelier needs to be very skillful, and you need the passion of understanding wine, but also understanding not just the end product, but where the product is, where it comes from. The ground, all that. But then in a dining room, why the sommelier is very important? Because different reason. One reason, obviously, is to guide people on the wine, which is very, very important. Second reason is also a financial reason. At the end of the day, we all know that a good sommelier, a good wine waiter, a good wine steward, whatever we want to call it, the revenue on wines in the restaurant is what keeps the restaurant alive. We know the margins. I'm not here to say margins, but we know the margins on food and the margin on wines. We know the wastage on food and the wastage on wine, and we know the labor in food and labor in wine. So we know then, obviously, wine is what keeps a restaurant alive. So that's why the role of a sommelier is so important. But then the sommelier also, the skill are very important, but then the attitude and the personality is very important too. Because as a sommelier, if you gain the trust of your guest, you can sell anything to your guest. And this guest will accept any suggestion from you. If you don't gain that trust, and he has to be very fast. He has to be in few seconds. If you don't read the guest, the reason why he's there, who is he there with? Does he want to impress? Not tonight. He has got guests to impress? Yes, tonight. So then it's up to the sommelier to suggest a certain type of wine. I've been in restaurants, I'm honest to you. The sommelier knew me, obviously knew who I was and what I do. And I said to the sommelier, can you please choose a bottle of wine for me and my wife? It was a white wine. The sommelier came with a bottle of wine. It was about £500. I knew. It's about Armor-Rocher. I knew which one it was. I looked at him and said, wait a minute. No. This is too easy. It's easy to go in a cellar and get the most expensive white to Diego. I'm not a billionaire, And I said, first of all, I was very upset. Second, okay, I was only with my wife. So I told him, look, bring me something else. And I had to tell him the budget. But if I was with guests, I would feel very, very bad to tell that sommelier, yes, for sure, it's a beautiful wine. Everyone knows that it's a beautiful wine, but I cannot afford it. It's not in my. So that was a big mistake. That it was a very, very big mistake. I know maybe he was trying to please me, but there is other ways to please. There is other ways to please. And I always say to sommelier, if you don't really know the guest, and the guest asks you, choose a wine for me. Always start from, I'm not saying the bottom, the cheapest, no, but go on something that is mid-range and something that is a bit unusual, something a bit different from a different country, different variety, different grape.
Yeah.
And then you see the reaction of the guest. If the guest said to you, oh no, tonight I really feel something a bit better, so then you go up. But if you start from up, the guest said, they're taking advantage of me. And so that's why I think that the role of a sommelier, it is important for the finances, for the sale. But to get to finances and sale, you need personality, attitude, reading the guest, and gain the trust from the guest. So it is a difficult role, a sommelier. And also as a wine buyer. Nowadays, a sommelier very often a wine buyer as well. And I always believed on great wine lists, big wine lists, and so on, so on, so on. But sometimes if the wine list is too big, as a guest, you arrive, you got a wine list, and it's a book like that. I'm here to have a good time. I'm not here sometimes to read a huge Bible, So that's where the sommelier comes into it. But also is important then the wine buyer try not to use only one producer or only one wine merchant, because it's nice that wine merchant knows then there is someone else who can sell your wine. So obviously they look at prices, So if you only use one, he said, that's it. I got them in my pocket, But if they know that you use 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10, they say, well, we better be careful how we charge because, the other one is, there is competition. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But then sommelier also, you see, when I said earlier on, reading the guest, sometimes guests want to know about the wine. They want to learn about the wine. They want to experience the wine. But sometimes in some restaurants, the sommelier is trying too hard. And the sommelier wants to show his knowledge to the guest. And really, sometimes guests don't want that. They make them feel, this sommelier wants to tell us that the acidity, the minerality, and all the chemical into the wine. What is he trying to impress? All we want is a nice wine, good value wine, good wine, but we don't want to know about all the chemical. Then if the guest asks, fine. But in many places, the sommelier is there filling up your head with all the chemicals, all the bits, and you're there trying to speak to your guest or entertain your guest, and you have to listen for 10 minutes about that. And you say, really, what I want is a good red wine or a good white wine.
Yeah,
bring it to me. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. No, but I wanted to say also in regards to what we've been saying before, I guess sometimes give you like carte blanche, you choose. And but no, you made a mistake. You pick up something which is not, maybe it's not what they enjoy. And you go back with another bottle and say, okay, what you don't like about this wine, this and that. Great. Got it. You go there, another bottle. And, and from mistakes also, as we mentioned before, is where you build like this really trusting relationship and trust with guests.
And you see, being humble.
Yeah.
Being humble, not being a doormat, but being humble. Sometimes, okay, you choose the wine. Not the guest choose the wine. You choose the wine. You bring the wine, as you said, and the guest said, it's not really me. Fine. You can change the wine. It's not saying, but it's good. Well, it's maybe good. It's maybe good. Some of the sommelier will tell you it's good. Why you tell me it's not good? But the wine is good, but it's not my taste. At the end of the day, it's me who pay for it.
Yeah.
Then if the guest choose the wine, then it's different. Obviously, if they choose the wine and that is really what they want, and the sommeliers explain what the wine is or the flavor, the fruit, or whatever you find in it, then maybe you can charge. You can charge. You can say, look, we open the bottle. The wine we think is fine, but we can put back the cork and then we can give it to you to take home and then choose another one.
Yeah,
but it is very much the fact of sometimes sommelier trying to tell guests that they know better than the guest.
I agree with that.
And I disagree with that. I do disagree. Even if they do, and they do, 99%, but sometimes they're guests and they know better than the sommelier, because nowadays it's very fashionable for people to learn about wine, to travel around the world. A lot of people, they got beautiful private cellars. The best wine, very often, they are in private cellars. They're not in restaurants and hotels. So,
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And you can learn so much, from guests as well about wines. I always ask a question to my guests when they bring their own wines.
Yes, that's right.
Because you can learn so much and maybe something that you don't know yourself.
Yeah, and also you just said something. Guests bring in their own wine.
Yeah.
I had some experiences in the Far East. I was in Hong Kong and Bangkok, where, in the Far East, bringing your own wine it's just normal, especially in Hong Kong. The beauty of it, some of those wine that guests bring in the afternoon for you to prepare, the wine that sometimes you can have a taste because you don't have the opportunity to sell those bottles of wine every day. You don't sell La Tâche or Richebourg or Lafite or Mouton every day. Mm-hmm. So for the sommelier, it's wonderful. It's got those wines that people bring. Obviously, you have to prepare it, you taste it, so give you the opportunity to you. And maybe a member of your team, you're not going to pour the whole glass, but at least to try. And I do agree with people, obviously, bringing their wine. Obviously, we need to charge a corkage, fair enough, because there is a bit of work involved, there is a service involved, there is the hidden cost, the glasses to wash, there is so many hidden costs and people don't know. No, I really, I agree with people bringing their own wine. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I think so. And I wanted to ask, do you have any non-negotiables for your staff? Like, do you used to have?
I do have. The first one is people with a negative attitude. This is something that I cannot take.
I read a chapter about that in your book.
Yeah.
And how you dealt with it. I actually read it out to my staff the other day.
I cannot have people with negative attitude. In restaurants, we call it the bad apple, And I've been the one who always say, if I know that there is a bad apple, I have to get rid of the bad apple. Whatever position he's got. Could be managerial position or beginning position. I cannot accept that, because that negative attitude is very contagious. Very, very contagious. As well as positive attitude is very contagious. I mean, it's nice to go to work in the morning and see your manager, your deputy, happy. Hello, how are you? You go to work. Hello, how are you? Oh, yeah. Another bloody day. So that is something that really is one of my things, because that person can bring down everyone else.
So you say it's a non-negotiable. What do you do about it?
If it's really bad, I have to be, the smile goes, because everyone knows that Diego apparently can make people cry with his smile, but that I don't know if it's true or not, but I keep it. But, you have to take a decision at the end of the day, as a restaurant manager, as a director, or whatever you are, you're in charge of a business. And you have to do what it takes to make that business to be profitable and to be good. So if you reach a point, then you have to get rid of someone. Well, I'm afraid you can give them a warning. Fine, you give a warning. You try to talk to that person a little bit.
So that's your initial approach? Is
Yes.
talking to them
Yes. No, it cannot be on the spot. No, you have to give them a couple of warning. Say, look, we cannot go on like this and this and that. But if you see that there is no result on that, you reach a point. Then why carrying a dead weight for long? When you have to move them on. And very often, in many places that I work, people say, oh yeah, but if this person goes, how are you going to replace it? Well, if that person goes, maybe the others will put 10% each more, and the job will be done. Yeah. So really, but for me, the negative attitude is one point. Is also, I would not accept anyone that is negative about the brand. I've been in restaurants, and I'm sure you've been in restaurants, and people come to me and say, oh, Mr. Diego, yeah, it's a nice restaurant, but, we work 14 hours a day. We don't earn any money. That is someone that I wouldn't allow it. Again, that is another one, because it's so difficult for whoever owns the brand or whoever to build that brand. And the last thing you want is someone in the front of house then try to tarnish your brand. And that is, for me, I wouldn't accept that. There is another one that I really would like to add is someone lacking with passion. I wouldn't accept anyone then just does that job mechanically, like a mechanical. I want people, then they got passion. I want people, then they get pleasure of pleasing people. Even if they make mistake. Hey, mistake happen to everyone. Happen to me. I make mistake every day. I still make them now. But I don't want people just there to be there. I want people, if they're there, they have to have passion. They have to be there and wanting to learn and wanting to progress and wanting to do better and wanting to be like me one day or better than me. I want them to be better than me. I say, I want to be better than that Diego. That is what I want. I don't want someone that is just there because he earns £2,000 a month. He has to work 8 hours a day and he's tired of being there. No, that for me, I wouldn't accept that. And again, even for that, I would speak to them first and then move them away. Yeah. So this is...
Yeah, we spoke privately before on the way you let stuff go, which I think is quite interesting. I never heard this approach before. So would you mind to repeat? Well,
it's a good trick. It's a good trick.
To keep everyone happy.
Because earlier on, I said to you, sometimes, you have to move people on. Some people also then sometimes they stay in places for too long, not because they love to be to that place, but because it's easy to be to that place. And when it's easy to be in the place, you lose the sparkle, you lose the wanted to progress, you lose the smile and many things. So it happened to me many, many times to have people then I realized and they were there for that reason. So I said, it's a nice girl. I cannot just get rid of her. It's a nice boy. I cannot get rid of him. It's very difficult when you know that they've been giving you so much of their time. So I started a new way of doing things. And I said, well, I'm going to call a few people around the world. Exciting places, could be the Caribbean, the Far East, the Middle East, exciting, beautiful hotels where I know that person could shine. And maybe to get a couple of jobs line up for them without saying anything to the actual person. And then obviously calling the person, say, look, you've been here 3 years. Oh, you've been great. You've been wonderful. But I cannot move you up anymore, because there is no position for you. But if you like, I got something great for you. Dubai, Hong Kong, Maldives, Caribbean. And obviously, young people, younger, they say, wow, this is a promotion. This is Mr. Diego is trying to help me to get a job with a better position for my future. 99.9% obviously they're over the moon. They give me a hug. Myself, I say, well, I gain in two ways. I gained, then obviously that person moved on, and I got space for someone else who wanted to work, wanted to strive. But also, it's very important that for my network, for people then moved on from me, because as I help them, they will grow, and one day I will need them. Remember when I said my goal is when the pupil beat the maestro. Those young kids, maybe one day, they will be head of big company. And so I will need them. So I've done that a lot, and I still do it. I still do it nowadays. And it works. And then maybe they know. Maybe at the end they know you, and that's why you did that, Mr. Diego. But they say thank you. They say thank you because obviously they've done very well. So that is a trick. Then I still do now. I still do that.
And do you think now, staff-wise, is there any effective way, do you think, to attract staff into work into a restaurant?
Well, we all know we're going through a very difficult time. I mean, I'm not here to say, it's the newspaper, the media has been talking about that for the past 2-3 years. It's not easy. It's not easy for different reasons. Obviously, a lot of people that were in the industry, they gone back to their own country, they don't come back. So there is a big hole here in the UK of people joining hospitality. How do you bring those people back? I have to be honest, I don't believe, and I've done it because maybe I've done it for all my life. I don't believe on 14 hours a day, 6 days a week anymore. Why I don't believe on that? Because I think that when someone works for 8 hours, 9 hours a day, or the 4 or 5 hours, they're there with the legs maybe, but not with the mind. So really, there is 5 or 6 hours just hanging around doing nothing. So I believe in fair pay, and I do believe in fair hours. And I believe also in, we should try to bring into hospitality. People keep saying, bring young people, which I agree, bring young people. But why don't we try to bring people of a certain age as well? I'm not saying old, but people maybe, then they may be semi-retired, and maybe they want to go and work, maybe not full-time, but maybe part-time in a restaurant. Those people might have maybe not the skills or the speed of a young person, but they have the personal experience, the life experience that a young person don't have. And I think we have to start to bring those type of people as well in. Now, how do you bring them in? How do you bring them? Again, I'm going back to what I was saying before. Whoever is the GM, whoever is the leader, whoever is the managing director, whoever is that level, should be on the floor. Lead by example. Lead by example. If you recruit a young person that maybe has never worked in hospitality, and that person goes, come and work in your restaurant, in a restaurant, in a hotel, the manager is not there. No one cares about that person. He has to work 8 hours a day. Then he has to maybe travel home for another hour to go home. He's never going to stay on that profession. Never. But if that person works in the restaurant, doesn't have to be Michelin. It can be any restaurant. He does hours. There is someone there to teach him, to guide her, to mentor. That person will stay. And that person will stay on the profession. Also, you have to tell people that hospitality is not just in restaurants, in hotel. Hospitality can be diversified in all businesses. And we have to tell those young people because they think, oh, I'm a waiter. I'm going to be a waiter all my life. No, you don't have to be a waiter all your life. From waiter, you can become GM of a big hotel, MD of a big hotel. You can move in a different business, in completely different business. I was reading about a lot of, okay, those are actors. But if I look on the early stages of famous actors and famous people in the business, most of them have worked in hospitality. And what gives you hospitality is also, it takes that fear away of people. Yeah. Say, for example, if I'm 20 years old, I'm scared. I've got fear of people. But if I work in a bar, if I work in a coffee shop, if I go work in a restaurant, I lose that fear. And when you go for an interview, because we know that an interview at the moment, nowadays is all tick, 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 tick. But at the end, you got the proper interview when you have to meet the boss or many bosses around the table. And if you cannot, if you're scared of that, even if your skills are great, you don't get. So I think what we have to do is to make understand the young people that hospitality is not just in restaurants. If you are a waiter, you're not going to be a waiter all your life. If you are even a chef, you're not going to be cooking all your life. But you can evolve a lot. You can move on. You can move on. You can move on. But you need to want it as well. It's not just, because no one is going to give it to you. Yeah. And also, you have to make them understand that hospitality is maybe very different than many other businesses. Then you cannot start from the top in hospitality. You have to start, sadly, from the bottom and then growing up. All GM of major hotels that I know, they all started mainly as waiters. If I look at all the GM that I know from big hotels, their first jobs were in F&B, food and beverage. There were maybe waiters, there were maybe young chefs, and there were maybe wine waiter. That is where they started, because even in a big hotel, the most difficult area of a hotel, it's not the bedroom, it's not housekeeping, it's not the food, it's food and beverage. And that is the nightmare of a big hotel manager, is F&B, food and beverage. So we have to bring the people, and I'm very much for, you say, I want to bring people of any type of people, young, not too young, everyone, inclusive. I really want to be inclusive on everyone, no discrimination on everyone, because we can teach everyone how to become a good, I wouldn't say waiter, a good person giving service. That's it, how I call it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you can find inspiration as well from diversity as well, that can, new ideas, new perspective.
Yeah.
What they can bring.
I'm 60. I'm learning every day from young people.
Yeah.
And this is the beauty. I'm learning every day from young people because time have changed.
Yeah.
The basics are the same. The basics the same. I always say in a kitchen, a mayonnaise will always be a mayonnaise and a bechamel will always be a bechamel. But there is tweaking.
Yeah.
And in service is the same. I mean, so I'm learning so much. I'm eager to learn from young people when they come to work for me. I'm eager to learn. Where did you work? How did you do it? Because maybe I learn, maybe I don't, but it is exciting, and they should be the same. They should be the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think something very effective that we've been doing in Medlar is videos. So using social media like Instagram, for example, to promote the business and also the fun side of the business that sometimes can be seen as a burden, like many things in hospitality can still be seen as such. But we always try to highlight that we can have fun.
Yeah,
fun.
Like, for example, we had for Christmas, we all dressed up like elves.
Yeah.
But people were seeing this as like something.
But when the regulars come, they all talk about it as well. They always saw you in an elf outfit.
Exactly. Like, it's stupid, but and then someone dressed up as an elf to take care of a PDR, or a private dining room for a guest, and the guests saw this person like wear this elf costume. They were like, what? They were so happy.
It's something that we remember forever.
Yes.
Something that we remember forever. They might not remember the food, but they remember,
the way they
forget, even they will maybe forget the name of the restaurant, but they will remember, the place we went, it was beautiful there, the food was great. And you remember was the health. The way
exactly.
But that is because what you give in a restaurant, in a hotel, it's not just food, it's not just wine, it's not just service. It's an experience, it's a journey. It's a journey. And for many people, restaurant at your level is a dream come true. It's like for a young lady, the first Prada bag. I'm the boyfriend. The first Prada bag, the lady always dream for is a dream come true. Dinner in your restaurant for many, many people is a dream come true, and so that is up to us to make that dream come true. Obviously they pay, but it's up to us to make the dream even better than what they thought.
Yeah.
There is I got a sentence that I always say, and people sometimes don't understand me, but they say, don't give your guest what they ask for. Give them what they never dream of.
Yeah.
So that means then you say, okay, I pay for the lobster. Fine. I pay for the wine. Fine. Great. But try to give them a bit more than that. Be there before they ask. You can hear the whispering about the birthday, about something. Bring them something then they didn't expect, because that is what they will remember. I worked, funny enough, in a place. It was not in England, it was somewhere else. And I tell you what's happened to me. This is an anecdote. It was not in England, it was abroad. And I had a table of 4, booked, fine. They arrived at 6. And I said, okay, fine, what do I tell? No, I have no space. I cannot do that. I cannot say that. I said, give me 5 minutes. You won't believe it. You will not believe it. I only had 5 chairs. I was missing the 6th one. And I looked everywhere. I didn't even have a office chair. So, and I said, what am I going to do? I cannot go to that gentleman, the host, and say, look, I cannot do it. I cannot do it. Well, I've done something that I've never done before. And I tell you what I did, and you're going to laugh. I went to the cellar. I got a box of wine. The wooden box, the Bordeaux wine. I put a nice tablecloth on it and a cushion. And that was the chair, the missing chair for the guest for only half an hour. Well, can I tell you, obviously I told the guest, look, I'm up to here. He knew it was not our fault. He forgot to tell us then that it was 6. So we had to do it. But if I would have gone to the guest and said, look, I cannot do it. Come back in a couple of hours. He would have said, what would he would have felt so bad with his guest. That person has been coming back to that place many times, and all he remember is the box of wine. But it was not the box of wine that he remember. He remembered the box of wine, but he remember then obviously we didn't spoil his evening, and it was a talk at the table. Oh, the box of wine was only there for half an hour, and then we found the chair. But that is customer service. That is, don't give them what they expect, but what they never dream of. I mean, in a way, in Italy you say do the il passo più lungo che la gamba, the step a bit longer than the leg. Try to do your best. And that is one of the things that happened to me in my life, It's like,
I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, box of wine. It was a good wine. It was a good Bordeaux. It was a good Bordeaux. And the box was full. It wasn't empty. And it was a nice tablecloth and a nice cushion. But I had no other option. I had no other. It was either the other option was ask them to wait an hour.
Yeah, I think it's thinking fast and outside the box as
yes,
well, right?
You have to think outside the box, and you have to think, even if you are in a very special place, sometimes you have to break the rule sometimes to please the guest. I'm not saying breaking the rule all the time, but sometimes, obviously the box was not on the visible side, it was on the back, so no one could see it. But sometimes you have to be very flexible as well. You have to be very flexible. I don't like places where they're very strict. Sometimes as a service, you need to be flexible up to a point, Otherwise, if everyone does what they want, then you lose you're losing it. But a bit of flexibility, it is important. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Brilliant.
Shall we do... we have one more point.
Yeah. Diego, tell us about your current role in the industry.
Great. So my role, as you heard, since 2018, so now we've got nearly 5 years now, I started my own company. It's my name, because it's not a huge company, it's a small company. We started with my wife, Carrie, my daughter, Isabella, and myself. Obviously, I'm the face. And they are the brain, and they are the
and the computers.
Yeah. So yes, I reached a point in my life, I'm very honest, and I wanted to bring my experiences to other people, to a wider audience. And I started this company in customer service, mentoring people, customer service, teaching young people.
Is this hospitality companies or is it other
It's
industries?
mainly, funny enough, it started as a hospitality. But as I said earlier on, hospitality can be diversified in many other businesses. So really, yes, it's hospitality based, but obviously also I look after. I'm advising. I'm an advisor for businesses that are not at all into hospitality. The main business is not hospitality, but to get to the final product, they need excellent customer service.
Yes.
So in all aspects, and attention to detail and all that. So yes, what we do, we work for different company, hotels, obviously, charity, because I do like working for charity. I do like very much to give, because I've been given in my life, and so I want to give back what I was given. And to obviously schools. Mainly we're in Italy and in other places. So to try to, I don't very often teach technique, but I teach more the philosophy of how important is service and what is service in general. And I teach people what is a customer experience, what is a customer journey, what is attention to detail, how important is attention to detail, is every day, little drop. So yes, we do have a lot of projects in the UK and quite a lot abroad as well. And I'm really enjoying because like I said earlier on, I start to see, even now with my own business, young people and less young, then they follow what I say, they follow what I do, and obviously they progress on their career. And for me to see young people progressing in a nice way, is the best satisfaction that I could get. So this is what we do. As I said, hospitality is not just in fine dining. Hospitality is from selling a sandwich to a coffee, to lobster, to be behind the desk in an airline, in a law firm. I mean, I'm honest. I had a project for a very big law firm. Look at me. I mean, my English is what it is, you know. And then I said, what the law firm wants from me? What do they want from me? Or a big financial institution, a huge one. What do they want from me? Well, what do they want? That is because obviously you go to an investment bank, for example, to invest your money. Which is the purpose. Like I go to a restaurant to eat food. But the approach of that investment bank, starting from the security outside, you know, that is where it starts. Security, whoever opened the door to you, whoever closed the door to you, the person that is there greeting you, is a journey from the moment you arrive in front of that institution to the moment you get to speak to the investor. There is a journey there. And that was my choice, my job, obviously, to make sure that journey goes with the brand. So it is extremely important because you know you go to a huge investment company and you want to invest a lot of money or whatever. If you arrive in front of the desk and there is a person with a long face, not even looking at you, not even knowing who you are, am I going to invest whatever in that place?
No.
What is the way? It's like...
It's the feeling. It's the same feeling.
Yeah. And I always say a journey in a hotel or in a restaurant is not the moment when you arrive at the front door. It's when you send an email or when you call. When you call or send an email to book your table. That is where your journey starts. Not when you arrive, is already after the journey, by a good quarter of the journey. The way the person answered the phone to you, the way the person replied to your email, because there is a way making you feel you're the only guest there that night, making you feel that you are very special to them that night. You know, on the phone is the same, making you feel wow, and trying to learn that person, why it's a special occasion, it's a birth, it's an anniversary, have you been with us before, and all those things. So me as a guest, I get excited. That young gentleman, that young lady was so nice on the phone. You know, I want to go there. She got someone miserable on the phone. Yeah. Well, you think, oh, what is going to be the rest? You know, what is going to be if you get the typical standard email, then you get a reply. You just say, I want to be special. I'm taking my girlfriend there. I'm taking my boyfriend there. You know, I saved money to go to that place. And I wanted to be special. So you don't feel special anymore. It's like, for example, I remember I used to say to my team, when the car arrived, it is very important. Then obviously the journey outside there start there. But even if the payment is not your payment, it's the council payment, the payment needs to be immaculate because it's the first impression then that guest will have of your business. But also, very important, is when you call the car back to collect the guest, to open the door and look inside the car. If the car is dirty, or say, get another one. You know, it's those things. So you make that guest feel, you just spend that guest maybe £100, £200, £300. I'm not going into number. And you call a taxi or a car. And when the car arrives, it's dirty inside. I said, no, I want another one. You know, the guest will feel, they really want to look after me, you know. So it's all these things. So that's what I'm teaching at the moment, you know, and what I'm not just teaching, but also training people. I do a lot of training, you know, a lot of training with young people. So I do that, and I enjoy a lot, and I learn every day.
Fantastic.
I think it's a lot of attention to details that we didn't touch on much, which I'm...
attention to detail.
I feel like we're running out of time. I want to touch on that.
I tell you, attention to detail is paramount in our business, in any business. the way, when you buy a sandwich, the way they give you the sandwich. They look at you, the eye catch, and all those things. You know, they're little touches.
But do you not find it quite rare?
Well, that is why I'm very busy. You know, you know, it's I always say, okay, glass of water. Okay, it's water. It's not Chateau Lafite. It's not Mouton Rothschild. But the way I could serve the glass of water to you, looking at the door, still a glass of water, it's free. I could serve the glass of water to you, looking at you, even if you don't look at me. You know, it's the attention, it's the eye catch. And the eye catch is so important in our profession. Even if you serve a plate, or if you bring a plate to a guest, maybe the guest is talking to his guest, fine. But you still look at the guest. Because only there's maybe that guest doesn't look at you, but the guest in front will look at you.
Mm.
You know, you bring the water and look at the window. It's like the smile. You know, I know I always say, and my wife keeps telling me, Diego, don't say it anymore. Because I keep saying, there is something, we all know, the smile is free. Doesn't cost anything. And we all have it. But it has to be a proper smile, a genuine smile. It's nothing worse going to hotels and restaurants where the waiter or whoever looks after you smile at you. And as soon as you move away with the head down, it's horrible. It's horrible. And I've seen it, you know, the waiter come to me, hello, how are you? And then when they turn, long face. Or I see it with other guests, which is even worse. I'm a guest having dinner there because unfortunately, you know, in a profession, when you are in a profession, you look around. You see a smiling, and then as soon as it turns, I said, no, I just don't even smile. Don't smile. Don't do that because that is really, really bad. And very often people smile for one reason, and we all know it's the financial reason, you know, at the end, they smile. But if you smile, do it genuinely. And it should be genuine. So get pleasure or pleasing, you know. And those are the little attention to detail. Walking, you know. I said when I was talk how to walk, also talk how to look around because there's nothing worse than me waiting for the bill. And you know when you want the bill, you want the bill. You want to go home. And I've tried to get the eye catch of the person, you know. And there is 5 waiters passing by, and no one look at me. And you try, nothing up. So that is the way attention to look around, read your guest. If you see a piece of little paper on the floor, pick it up. Pick it up. Don't wait for, even if you are a manager, don't wait for the junior to pick it up. Pick it up yourself. And you know what you should do? If you pick it up yourself, the junior will see then you do it. And then he's going to do it. You know, it's all those little things. You know, if you start to cut on attention to detail, your product will just crumble. I know it's not easy because people, you know, that is every day. You have to be under than 10% every day. And when the curtain open, when the door open of the restaurant, the show starts. And you have to be 100%. You cannot have problem. You cannot be ill. You cannot not have problem at home and all those things. You know, and this is something that I'm teaching because we're all human beings. We all have our issues at home. We all have our whatever. But unfortunately, in our profession, we cannot bring our problem at work because the guest is not there to listen to our problem. The guest wants someone happy with no problem and make them happy. So sometimes it's difficult. I'm honest. I mean, I'm sure we all go through, we all been through. Yeah. It's not easy, but we have to be genuine actors, call it, not just actors.
That's a good point.
Very nice.
So shall we do the fire round questions?
Yeah, let's wrap up with the quick fire round.
Good.
Yes.
So we would like you to reply with just like a quick one short sentence or one word either. So what's your desert island wine?
My desert island wine. So when I tell you I'm from Piemonte, I like Barbera.
I love Barbera.
That's it.
I do Barbera
I
usually.
know I could go for the big name. I like Barbera. That's it. I like
good,
Barbera because I
amazing.
like stews. So it's right.
I like juice. Yeah, that's true.
I like stews.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you want to go next?
What's your best service experience as a customer?
The best service experience of a customer is, well, I had two.
Mm-hmm.
One actually is in the restaurant, and one is in an hospital. You know.
Oh.
And I'm honest to you, was an hospital, no need to say. Whoever was look after me and my wife is the best customer experience that I had for that person. I mean, she was serving food, she was serving no wine, but she was caring. And whatever she was doing with pleasure. Mm-hmm. So that is one. In restaurants, I had some wonderful experience, but my best experience is when I have an evening, then I feel wanted, but at the same time, I feel relaxed and I don't feel under pressure of either finishing on a certain time, relaxing. And also sometimes I don't like very much intrusion. You know, sometimes when people, sometimes in the restaurants you go and the staff are not intrusive, but they want to show too much their skills. So those are my best experiences. Obviously, the name of the restaurants, and there is plenty around, but I had some bad experiences as well. Yeah.
Okay. And what is your favorite book? Do you have one?
Well, you see, very often I start to read a book and then I get half of it and I just don't have time. You know, I don't have time. But I'm honest. My little book, I keep reading it sometime. I like book, funny enough, history book. You see, I like sometimes to read books that are not related to hospitality or to cooking or anything like that. I like books on geography, on history, and also on culture. So I do read that type of book, those type of books, but not. Sometimes even I want to come away from food, wine, and hospitality. So I get my mind. I see my mind maybe learning more. I mean, something that I maybe never had the chance to learn when I was young. History, geography, and things like that. Yes.
But do you think about hospitality books? Are they very helpful? Do you read them?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Obviously, I've been reading them. Not anymore, but I did. Oh, I used to read cookery books, one after the other, service book, one after the other. Oh, yes. The technique. I mean, I learned a lot from books, from techniques and everything. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But maybe I reached an age then I don't read them anymore, you know.
No,
but it is very important. Oh, yeah. It is so important in our profession to be updated all the time. I am, as I said, I'm 60, and once every year, every other year, I go to courses. I go to wine courses. I go to wine tasting, still going. And if I know the wine, I still go management courses, HR courses. I mean, HR now is not HR anymore. It's called people. You know, it's change. You know, don't call HR. It's people. And that is very important because, you know, obviously the time have changed, laws have changed, rules of work have changed. So, yeah, I still, very much so.
Interesting. And who is the person that inspires you the most in the industry?
Now, the person who inspired me the most from the beginning, young, as I said, it was my mom. That was my mom. Without my mom and my dad. Professionally, obviously, I have to say this was Alain Chapelle was my first, where he teach me how to walk, not only how to walk, but many things. Obviously, when I came to London, there was Mr. Silvano Geraldine. He was my boss. He was my boss. And I have to be honest, famous chef like Gualtiero Marchesi, which is another famous in Italy. We know him very well. I work for him. And yes, the Roux brothers. I mean, how can I not say? I mean, I worked with them for 35 years, you know. So you know, I mean, with Mr. Michel, we went to Mr. Michel Senior. We went to wonderful places together. We went to Hong Kong, we went to Bangkok, we went to the Kremlin in Moscow and all those things. So for sure they inspire me. That was part of my life. It was my life. I always say, sometimes hospitality is not a profession or a job. It's not a job, it's a profession, but also is a way of life. Mm-hmm. And to the point, then my wife used to say, "Oh, you are like Mr. Ru now. You talk like him and you act like him." So that's it. I became like him at the end. Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else?
And outside the industry?
Outside the industry.
Anyone that inspires you?
Well, depending if I see it on a business side, mm-hmm. or if I see it more on a philosophical side. On the business side, I'm honest, I admire a person, and I'll say the name. He was in construction, mm-hmm. starting from nothing, and he built an empire, just for very hard work, attention to detail, and keep working. So that is the person that inspired me a lot. Mm-hmm. Another person, I have to be honest, and really helped me a lot. And without that person, I wouldn't be where I am. And I'm very honest, is my wife. Mm-hmm. Without my wife, I wouldn't be where I am. I've been married 35 years, and when you are in this industry, especially the way I used to, or I do work, mm-hmm. and been married for 35 years, we've got 2 children. I've never been at home for any birthdays, anniversary, hospitals, holidays. I mean, our holiday was in January, 4 weeks, and then you work for 11 months. If I didn't have my wife next to me to support me, I wouldn't be where I am. That's it. And I have to be honest. And it's mm-hmm. not been an easy ride, especially for her. More for her than for me, because for me, I was out. I was out mm-hmm. with people. But for her to be at home every day, but always support me 100%. So really, without her, I wouldn't be around. I wouldn't be around. I would have maybe been in a different place. Yeah.
Wonderful.
I think we're done then.
Great. Diego, it's been absolutely fascinating.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been an honor to be here, a pleasure to be here and meet you and be able a bit to talk. I mean, we could talk for hours and days, but all I'm saying at the end, then hospitality is a beautiful profession. It's the most wonderful profession. And hospitality, as I said, is not just in restaurants, in hotels. Hospitality is everywhere. And hospitality, again, as I said, is not just in fine dining. It can also be in a coffee shop, in a sandwich bar. And again, the rules are there, which is important. But attitude and personality and honesty are more important. And that is what hospitality is all about for me. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Brilliant.
Thank you for listening to Drive for Service podcast. Follow us on Instagram @MedlarChelsea and make sure you like and subscribe for future episodes.